So this is my interview for my Link's first period. I am here with childhood friend who has autism. Say your name.
Hello, I'm Serenity. I am medically recognized with autism. I have been working on a diagnosis professionally for a couple of years now. However, because it is very expensive to get, still working on that, but making steady progress.
Very cool. Okay, so here's the first question. What would you say is the average experience as somebody with autism?
I think that the average experience of somebody with autism, just based on how I see it, well, of course, because autism is a spectrum.
Yeah.
Like the ASD, big spectrum. So average experience could be way different for other people, which still considered average experience because it still encompasses the experience of a very vast majority of people.
Yes.
But for somebody like me, and there are a very large amount of people out there that are like me, I would say that the average experience as somebody with autism is, I don't want to say it's a struggle, but it most definitely is. There are a lot of negative connotations that autism comes with. As soon as you are recognized as somebody with autism, with ASD, it can go basically two ways. You can either get infantilized your entire life, or it will be totally overlooked. A lot of autistic people, whilst there are resources, find it very difficult to get access to those resources, mostly because the large demographic of autistic people also come from families who either aren't able to afford or simply don't have the time to get their autistic child help.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say that the average experience as somebody with autism is, it's an everyday struggle.
Yeah.
But it's, even though it's an uphill battle, it's something that for the rest of my life I will continue to fight as much as I can. Yeah. And now this isn't to imply that having autism is an inherently bad thing. In fact, being autistic is it has shaped me to be the person that I am today, as something that affects almost every aspect of my life. Without my ASD, I probably wouldn't be as fluent in a lot of like conversational skills, because as somebody with autism, I have learned to mask for my entire life, and that comes with a lot of, I guess, simulations of conversational skills, of sort of like social cues. I'm able to analyze a social cue and replicate it with very little practice, and I don't think that I would be able to do that, and I wouldn't be able to like grasp patterns and whatnot as like well as I can if I didn't have autism. So there are honestly some benefits too. It's not something that I wish anybody to have, but I live with it, and I have learned to love it as part of myself.
That is so real. So that was very well spoken.
Thank you.
Yes. What would you I guess, trying to find a way to phrase this. But how would you define masking? Exactly what is that?
Okay, so masking is essentially making yourself look and act like somebody who is neurotypical
Mm-hmm.
or non-autistic, which would usually be referred to as allistic.
Mm-hmm.
So, autistic people struggle with recognizing social cues, which means that every day, we have to go out and mask our autism and act that we are not autistic. Sorry, I have a very bad stutter.
Fair enough.
So an example of masking, I would say, for me at least, has been regulating my tone and making sure that my speech patterns are level and consistent. This has been very difficult for me to do, but I have done it. Unfortunately, with a lifetime of masking, it is very difficult to stop masking. And some people don't learn how to mask altogether, making life 10 times harder for them. Because when you're autistic, your value in this world is gauged upon how well you can mask as a non-autistic person. And I know that sounds like a crazy claim, but I would like to bring up the term Asperger's as an example. Asperger's is a quote-unquote form of autism. All autism is, it's the same spectrum. There is no such thing as high functioning or low functioning. At the end of the day, every autistic person is still autistic. But the term Asperger's was made up by a Nazi scientist to essentially isolate autistic people that could function better in like average working class societies. So eventually it came to be two separate diagnoses, and a lot of professionals like today prefer not to diagnose Asperger's, but a lot of kids and adults still get diagnoses of that. It's incredibly, like, the rate of diagnoses for Asperger's, you usually see it in autistic females a lot more, but that doesn't mean that you can't find it in autistic males too. So yeah.
Nifty.
Somebody who cannot mask would be labeled as autistic, just straight up, probably infantilized their entire life. And somebody who is diagnosed with Asperger's, somebody who can mask, will likely not get the help they need, or experience a mixture of not getting enough help and being infantilized. Unfortunately, because people with the Asperger's diagnosis can function better in normal society, or not normal, but neurotypical society, they're typically treated a lot better than people that are given the autistic diagnosis. So, yeah, there's that.
Very nifty. Well, not nifty, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get it.
All right. So what would you say are some of your special interests?
Oh.
Yes. I'm pushing that button.
Whoa, okay. So I guess a definition for special interest would be needed first.
Oh yeah, that too. Man, you doing the interviewing? Goodness gracious. Okay, go on.
So a special interest, for those of you who don't know, is essentially it's in the name. It's a special interest that an autistic person has. It's an interest that somebody with autism will probably fixate on their entire lives, and this fixation it's very like bone deep. You usually can't shake it. Excuse me. And it's something that an autistic person will like. How do I phrase this? A lot of an autistic person's life will probably be, I guess, defined by their special interest, depending on what it is. So a lot of autistic people tend to have special interests in dinosaurs, in space, in like classic literature, in Greek mythology, and all sorts of things. Could be even like makeup. But for me, my special interests are I really love space. I could sit down and talk about space like all day, every day. And the amount of space facts that I know is quite frankly disturbing. Another one of my special interests is, and I'm trying not to go off on tangents when I mention these, because that is something that a lot of autistic people tend to do, is when their special interest is mentioned, they will talk about it because it's their special interest. I mean, if something that you liked got talked about, you would want to pitch in too.
Oh, 100%.
But imagine that, like, but you have to pitch in, and then you have to keep going and telling everybody everything about what you like. So, where I'm at right now is I like analog horror. I like space. I absolutely adore philosophy. That's actually why I know so much about autism in the first place. I like pictures of flowers, like the kind that you'll find on things like Pinterest or Tumblr. I love flowers. I also love bugs. And a newly found one, I would say, is like nuclear accidents.
Ooh.
With special interests, sometimes hyperfixations can like come along with them. So a hyperfixation is basically like a momentary, like intense fixation on something. How I would compare and contrast hyperfixations to special interests is a hyperfixation is a fixation that you can't help but think of and have to incorporate in your everyday life. Whereas a special interest is something that you are incredibly interested in and probably have researched your whole life, but you can take a step away from it and you can think about other things. However, it's very easy to come back to it. Wait, no, I had something else to say.
Okay.
With nuclear accidents, a hyperfixation on the Chernobyl nuclear accident has recently popped up, and now I can tell you exactly what happened at Chernobyl on the night of... What night was it? Hold on. It was in April. I know that. April 1986, April 26th. Yes. So yeah, I want to go on a tangent about it so badly, but that's a personal hyperfixation of mine right now.
That is so cool.
yeah, it's really awesome. Well, like, the disaster and it almost destroying the entire world isn't awesome, but, like,
yeah, I know what you mean.
What happened
like,
behind
it's important
awesome.
History.
It's really important history.
Yeah, I personally have huge, like, interest in hyperfixation myself in history, so I totally get that.
I do too.
That is so real!
Yes, a personal, like, a new special interest, I was about to bring this up before I, like, went back to my old, like, train of thought, was, war.
War?
Like, specifically World War II.
Oh, I used to be super fascinated with World War II back in, like, middle school.
Yes, I absolutely love learning about it, and, funny enough, I know I'm, like, a sophomore in high school, but this year, was my first time ever going into depth about what happened during World War II.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
At my old middle school, they didn't go in depth about it. We barely ever grazed on it. We just knew that it happened. In 9th grade, world history, which, funny thing, I'm taking another world history class this year. They botched my schedule. Because I moved from one school to another. But last year's world history class, we didn't touch on it, like, at all. What we more touched on was, like, ancient history, I would say. We got all the way up to, like, the Renaissance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, for the sake of time, I'm gonna cut the special interest one, even though I so badly want to keep talking about history, and I'm sure you do too.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. Is there any ways that you incorporate your special interests to complete daily tasks?
That's a hard question, actually.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say daily tasks, but a lot of the time, the knowledge that I have from looking into things regarding my special interests has, like, helped me insanely in school. Like, I have a special interest in math, and because of that, I know, like, so much about math that it's crazy, and that helps me get, like, A's and B's on, like, all of my Algebra 2 tests and whatnot. So probably not, like, a daily thing, but frequently the knowledge that I have gained from having my special interests has helped me in life.
Yeah. Alright. What are some of the most frustrating misconceptions or stereotypes about autism?
Ooh, I really don't like it when autistic people are treated like babies.
Oh my god! Yep. I hate that one too.
We can do things on our own. Yes, we need a little bit of help to be able to function like a neurotypical person, but we know how to function on our own, and we don't need somebody doting over us constantly. Like, that might be another autistic person's preferred like way of living, which we all have our preferred ways of living, but for that to be the standard with every autistic person,
Mhm.
I hate that so much.
Oh yeah.
And that's something that has greatly delayed actually getting diagnosed.
Mm-hmm.
Because while I am medically recognized by a professional, I'm terrified of the diagnosis and what will happen once I get that, because I know that I will be looked at differently.
Oh yeah. Let's see, but the next question. What is it? I guess I don't really know how to phrase this question either. But what is it like being autistic in a, I guess, neurotypical world? Like, how are there times where you ever feel like, quote unquote, different from everyone else?
Absolutely. Geez, that's one that if I wanted to answer how I wanted to, like how I want to answer it, I would have to like pre-plan all of my points. But all I could really get across is that it's like wading in oil while everybody else is wading through water. It's like I have been put at a massive disadvantage, down to talking with people, down to understanding like what mannerisms are. I don't get to experience the same automatic knowing as a neurotypical person does. So let's say that let's say common occurrence like high school relationship, the lady says something along the lines of, I shouldn't have to tell you when I'm upset. Which, sure, yeah. I mean, it's pretty easy to tell when somebody's upset. For a neurotypical person, at least. And I have been given this line a lot with my relationships. When I am told I shouldn't have to tell you when I'm upset, it confuses me. Because I cannot tell when somebody is upset. I cannot tell like what somebody wants me to do about things. I can't follow basic instructions. They have to be broken down in their smallest form for me to be able to understand and process them.
Oh, me too, man.
Yeah. So it's, like I said, like wading through oil when every other person is wading through water.
That is a very good and accurate metaphor. All right. Next question. Do you have sensory things that you absolutely hate? Do you have sensory things that you absolutely love?
I hate chalk.
Chalk?
I hate powdery things on my hands. I just hate powders in general. I don't really know how to explain it. I just absolutely hate powders. They feel very offensive to my skin.
Fair enough.
Something that happens with me like daily is the sleeves of my shirt, because I typically wear longer sleeves just because I don't really like showing a lot of my skin. It makes me uncomfortable because it feels like everybody's looking at me. But what happens is at some point the clothes will like rub against my skin in the wrong way, and it will create this sensation that is just like, it feels like you're being pinched but without the pain.
So like a
it's
pressure?
terrible.
So like a pressure?
It's like if somebody was like scratching at you very gently, but they just kept going and going and going,
Oh, yeah.
even after your skin is irritated, and you want them to stop, and you ask them to stop, they just keep going, and you can't do anything about it because it's not actually a person.
Yeah.
So what you do is you roll up your sleeves, and then it just gets so much worse because now it's like in the crook of your elbow, and it's like, ugh.
God. Oh, God. It's giving me the ick.
Yeah,
Why are you so descriptive? Okay.
That's what I'm here to do.
I mean, yeah. Like, how dare you do your job? Anyways,
How dare I do my job?
How do you... Oh, sorry. Were you done? Or no?
I don't know.
Okay. You just
We can go on.
Okay. So, what... Do you have, ways that you... I guess... I don't know. Again, another question I don't know how to phrase. But I guess, is there ways that you can adapt to overstimulating environments? Like, for example, noise canceling headphones or fidget toys. Do you have things like that that you use?
Yeah. Those necklaces, like the chewy necklaces that you bought me.
Yep.
They help a lot. So essentially, do you want me using your preferred name here?
Yes, you can use Charlie.
Okay.
It's in the system.
So, okay, cool. So Charlie, a couple months back, bought me these awesome, like, chewy sensory necklaces, and essentially I just pop them into my mouth whenever I feel like I just need to chew, or like everything's too much all at once, and it calms me down, like, really nicely. I don't have a hypersensitivity to, like, noise, aside from when it comes to, like, very specific things, like, I would say, like, nasally voices. They have, like, this thing where it sounds like a like in the back of their throat, and I hate it.
Oh, yeah.
Like that, it just makes me want to scream and cry and scratch at walls like a rabid animal. But other than that, I don't have a hypersensitivity to, like, auditory stimulation, so I don't wear noise canceling headphones.
Alright. Let me see next question.
Sometimes I wear gloves.
Oh, gloves.
To, like, protect me from other sensory things. They're nice.
Alright. Next question. Has anyone ever underestimated you because of your disability?
Yes, absolutely. I have also been overestimated because of my disability.
That too.
Yeah, that happens quite frequently, actually. Again, with the whole infantilizing thing. Most autistic people spend their lives getting infantilized, or people assume that they can't, like, lead normal lives because we're autistic, which we can. Just people don't get that.
Interview.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's important for people to be self-aware of their autism and how it impacts them in the world around them?
Absolutely. It is very important for somebody with autism to understand that they are different. I'll say it. Oh my god, the word different.
Whoa.
But if somebody leads their entire life not knowing that they have autism, they're going to lead their life thinking, oh, what's wrong with me? Why am I different? Why am I inadequate? Why can't I function like every other person does? What's wrong with me? And sometimes they'll have habits that they don't even pick up on, and that'll make them feel even worse.
Yeah.
But sometimes people also don't like to know that they have things, and it is very, it's up to the person whether or not they want to know.
Yeah.
I think it's important for somebody who wants to know to seek that professional help.
Yeah. Do you have any examples of stims, whether it be vocal, physical, or anything else?
I have a lot of different stims. I like shaking my hands back and forth. I do this thing where I touch every fingertip to my thumb in a 1, 2, 3, 4 motion.
Oh, I do that too. I'm doing it right now.
Yeah. I have a multitude of vocal stims that changes every week. I think right now, sometimes I'll just spit out, "Oh, my wife." I'm not a married person by any means. I'm a sophomore in high school, but one of my vocal stims is just, "Oh, my wife," and I'll just spit that out, not even longing for anything, not wistful at all, just cause. I have a lot of scribal stims also, words that I will type out a lot just cause it makes me feel better. However, a good amount of my scribal and vocal stims are curse words, so.
I mean, curse words are fun to say.
They are.
To be fair. That's why schools don't allow it.
As long as everybody around you is okay with it, then they're fun. They're fun. You can go crazy, go ham. Don't hurt people's feelings intentionally. Go ham. Go bananas. Go crazy. Go stupid.
Silly. All right. Getting closer to the end. All right. I think this is one of the final questions. Why do you think, if you do, why does the world need people who think differently, people who are on the autism spectrum?
Okay. Albert Einstein was autistic. You know what he did? He thought of splitting the atom. Nuclear energy. That has changed everything. I also believe that Stephen Hawking was autistic. Stephen Hawking.
Oh.
Let me look him up. Was he autistic? In real life.
Is Stephen Hawking autism?
Okay, so he wasn't autistic, but he's also a good example of somebody with a disability that has done wonders for our world.
Yeah.
But yeah, having people who think differently and have a different perspective in life opens worlds upon worlds of knowledge that somebody with a straight line in the box sort of view would never get to.
And the final question, if there is one thing that you could say to every single neurotypical person, they had to listen, they had to perceive, they had to think about what you were going to say. If there is one thing that you could tell neurotypical people, what would you tell them?
Ask questions before you assume.
Mm-hmm.
Please, for the love of God, ask me a question if you don't understand something, and communicate with me. Please, communicate with me, because I am not going to understand, and a vast majority of other autistic people will not understand unless you can communicate with us. And that doesn't mean sitting there and being like, oh, you should already know. Because we don't. We're not going to unless you say it straight up. And a good majority of the time, somebody who is autistic will not take a straight up answer poorly. Don't be afraid to communicate with people.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah.
If you are afraid of asking a question, and if you are afraid of respectfully communicating with somebody, they don't need to be in your life. Because they don't care.
I mean,
if you can't communicate with somebody, they don't care.
Yep. Fair enough.
That's just it. So there you are.
All right. Well, this is the end of the interview. Thank you again for joining me this lovely eve.
Like an autistic person does, I am going to walk out in an inappropriate time.
All right, and
this is love.
Let's see.
Oh shit!
Oh, oh no! Wait.
Oh, you're gonna have to cut that out.
Oh boy. Okay, that's fine. God dang it, Aternos. It's shut. Oh my. Okay, just rejoin.
It's not shut down. It's not shut down.
I was about to say it's because.
Oh, I broke it.
You what?
Chair.
You broke the chair.
Yes, I broke the chair. Hold on, let me.
That is fine. What am I? What is going on? Help!
What?
I'm in the chair.
Oh wow. That's nice.
Help!
Do you want to continue this?
Okay, wait. I gotta get my chair.
It would be really funny if you added this segment at like the very end of the video.
Oh, like a bloopers reel.
Yeah, like the bloopers
for
reel.
extra credit. Okay.
For extra credit, yeah.
All right, let's continue.
Bro! Move. No, it's
Bruh. My guy, my dude. Sit down, you little rascal. Sit down, you little rascal. Don't turn at me like that, you little rascal. You sit down.
Stop calling me a little rascal.
Little rascal.
Let's continue.
Okay. Not from the top. Oh my god, that would be so painful. Okay. All right. Here's continuation of